It is just coming up to your 11 o'clock ABC News, 10 minutes away now. They do say to try to leave your work at work, but sometimes that's easier said than done. What happens when work stress spills into home stress? Psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens is with me, and I asked her how someone can tell when work has started to creep too far into their personal lives.
So one of the things I think that's helpful for all of us to monitor is how much of our work conversations, perhaps our emails, our worries, are starting to intrude on things like our evenings or our weekends or your sleep, depending on what sort of work structure you have, and impacting the time that you're having off. And you might even notice feelings like guilt when you're not working, or you might feel that you're doing something, say, with the family, but mentally inside you're drafting an email that you need to send tomorrow. Yes. So we notice that almost tug of war kind of experience that we can feel between where we are at home or in our personal lives versus when we're at work.
So the word boundaries is something that pops up around work a lot. Is that actually a career skill and not something that you might think of as a bit woo-woo and wellnessy?
Yeah, no, it's a really important workplace skill. And what we actually know is that setting effective boundaries for ourselves, particularly in our work environment, helps us in our role and actually can help us in terms of high performance in our role as well, because what boundaries do is they protect our energy. We were talking before about thinking about work stuff while we're at home. That takes up energy. So in some ways, your work needs you to have time off to protect your energy so that when you come back to work, you know, you're doing so with a little bit more of a skip in your step.
Yeah. What are some subtle ways that work does creep into your personal life that people might not necessarily overlook?
Yeah, so often it is actually the really small subtle ways. So it's, I'll just quickly check my emails, or I'll just quickly send this, or finishing a task, or you might be having a day off, and maybe you have a day off through the working week, but you agree to do that meeting or whatever it might be. It'll just be by Zoom. It'll only take half an hour. And what happens is as we lead into that meeting and lead out of that meeting, it takes a lot of our energy. Now, again, there might be some really significant reasons in our workplace that we might do that from time to time, but it's when that becomes more of a constant, because again, it feeds into the boundaries. We teach people how to treat us, and if we teach people we are on 24/7, then understandably they'll lean on us to do exactly that.
And I think that some of those things have changed over time. People sometimes worry that setting boundaries will hurt their reputation. So how can you protect that personal time without looking like you're disinterested or not committed to your role?
Yeah, I think actually what tends to happen more often is people will respect you for your boundaries. And the key thing with boundaries is always to keep them consistent. Otherwise, we run into that issue that we were talking about before. If you are meeting your deadlines when you're at work and you can communicate easily about some of the bottlenecks that you might experience, then if you're very clear with the expectations of when you're available, when you're not available, people will respect that. If it's blurry and unclear to others, they will understandably ask you to do more of yourself until you actually say no. So that learning to say no and protecting your reputation by deciding when you are and aren't available is actually a really important skill.
It's really hard though.
Oh, absolutely. That it's such a little word, isn't it? No, only 2 letters, but sometimes it can feel really challenging.
They're very big letters. Yes.
Yeah, and sometimes for those, and there are many people who find that quite challenging, practicing how you might do that, rehearsing that, thinking about the conversation about how can you say no in a way and maybe doesn't over-explain the reason why you're saying no to something.
So you mentioned they're practicing, maybe having some conversations at home. What other practical steps can somebody take today, this week, to stop work from overflowing into other areas of their life?
I've seen this done successfully by people across all sorts of domains. So whether it be athletes, whether it be people who work in education, people who work in corporates. And one of the things I think that can be really helpful is to have a very clear full stop at the end of your day. So you might symbolically shut down your computer and I know not most people don't turn their computers off these days. You might turn off your computer, or you might at the end of your day, if you're in a desk environment, you might write down the first 3 things you're going to do tomorrow. So having some sort of ritual around finishing your day is useful. And the other example I would give is I had an athlete that I worked with who would often find themselves thinking about their sport when they got home and not feeling as connected with their family. So they would very symbolically, because they had to get out of their car to close their garage when they got home, is they would stand at the gate and hold the gate and remind themselves that they were at home. So it was literally a
physical closure.
Yeah, and for some people that might be what it is. You might get home from work and it might be about changing out of your work clothes as a symbolic thing that you're doing that says, okay, work is done, now I'm into my more relaxing
that was
home
work
clothes.
me, now I'm at home.
Home me, yeah.
Home me. Me. So if somebody's already had work take over their life, what is one thing that can help them start to reclaim that?
Yes. So I think one of the things, and if I can say this from a place of kindness, is understand that it's your responsibility to take it over, because our workplaces will often really appreciate the people that are there all the time. If it's about resetting the boundaries, thinking about how you might do it, I would say start small if that feels too overwhelming to do it in a large way. I think that's an important, and to articulate and to talk about why you need to make a change, because what will happen is if you've set up expectations with people, they will be very confused if you suddenly change it. So they might push, it might feel like it's getting harder before it gets easier. So sometimes you need to be really overt and actually say, I need to change my boundaries around availability for meetings when I leave work because I'm finding it's encroaching in my life. So this is how it will be for me moving forward. Being really clear and however you might communicate that is a really important first step.
That's psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens. You're on ABC Radio Queensland. Nearly time for your 11 o'clock ABC News.